So it turns out it's not the game designer who's been talking to me on YouTube. It's just someone who's very, very into the game, and he said something early on that I misinterpreted, and not enough, nothing afterwards really. There was just one statement that I don't know what it did, but it convinced me. Is this something like this in my game or something? I don't know. It was just something that really made me wonder, but all right. Yeah, I'm a weird creature. So let's start operating around, I guess, with the new company, the INV, with a ton of cash. And not going to be able to buy 2 big trains with that. It's got $1,000, but one of them's got to be a 5. And I certainly don't want 2 5s. Might want a warrant, though. The good old EU has come busting out with huge, huge numbers. Is there something that does this shit? I mean, I got no idea what track there is, right? Is there something that goes across that? That's the question. I got dual curves. I don't think there is. Yeah, there's this, right? That goes across. Which means maybe I'm doing this the wrong way, because maybe I need the sharp hook there. Yeah, I was busting out this way, but I'm not sure I want to do that. Yeah, track lays are incredibly painful in this game. I have to say that. And that's really kind of what the game is focused on, is making lots of different route decisions in it. Much more so than any other game that I think I've seen. Some of the games are like, this is a big engineering game, you have to lay lots of track and everything. This one is one where you have to lay particular connection routes, and there's a lot of dicking over of those connection routes. So what I'm seeing right now is the EUR, and I've already paid this out, is running at 650. How the hell did it do that? Yeah, that's a good question. And could it not have done this before? Well, it couldn't have, because this track got hooked up here. So what it's running is a freight train up to here. The 3 locals running through here. And then the 2-3 local is skipping this one and hitting these 2. And that's a lot, that's a lot of money that it's hitting here. It looked like it was getting stumped out as a lower value train. And then I kept seeing, oh no, I'm blocked here, I'm blocked there, and coming up with better and better routes the more I found myself blocked, which is kind of weird. But now, what is the track lay for this monster? What are we intending to get eventually? Well, we're intending to get a couple of permanent trains, and we don't know what those are. We have piles and piles of cash, and we could always swallow and get another bigger train as we go on. Maybe to force the H's out or something like that when that comes about. Or if there's a, hey, we've got the 1-8 train and it fits our route perfectly. But yeah, the question is, how do we get out of here? And this is one possibility. Here's another one. That would be cutting across here. I like this space better than this space, though. So I think I'm actually going to play that piece of track instead of trying to make the cross here. But we really don't know where we're going to end up. Because other players are going to be fighting, for their track, what they want set up. Sometimes you find that other people are doing exactly what you want. Sometimes you find they're doing exactly what you don't want. And then the question comes, do I want this dot? It's kind of disconnected if I don't manage to hook things up. It may not matter if I don't get this particular little piece of route built. I don't know. Right side, there's only one thing that can upgrade this. So yeah, I feel pretty safe putting one of my few remaining dots down there. I think that's going to be a real important space to my line, especially since I connect to this already and everything. So my long-term line looks safe. So cool. Now comes the question of what is my what is my train situation? So I've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $1,100. I can buy this. But do I want to throw 245 of that 1,100 into banking for an even bigger train than, like, you know, what are we looking at? A 6 and a 7, an E and an F. I don't know. Let's see where the trains are going to get bought. We expect one bought here. That one's already gone. We expect one bought here. I see 2, but FDR is going to buy one. YNN might buy one. That's 2 more. So we're at 4. There's another train there. That's 5. Yeah, we're seeing them falling, aren't we? Possibly another one here. One here is 6. So we're looking at 6 trains. That means 5 beyond this. 3 of these. We might be best off holding our money. Because it looks to me like there's a fair chance that we're going to get a couple of these that we can buy. The danger, though, is that we have to pay $1,200. If we're looking at 6 trains, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say I have to buy both of these. Well, the INB is behind the 8 ball. That'll be merging. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to judge this. Like, am I better off guaranteeing maybe myself the bigger train, or holding off on that and just keeping that cash on hand? You know what? When I can't make a decision, I'd buy the share. All right, we're going to buy the share and go for the longer term, I think, plan. BR completes its merger with the IB. I don't know if it really matters which one I took, but after making its run was the 47 run. The IB actually never ran, fell back from 200 to here, but we end up with a very big stock price because we had 2 companies with very high stock value. Now, I don't have a lot of shares, but they're worth a lot. Paid to get the extra share. Everything else matched up. Nobody was holding any of that stuff. There wasn't anything that was a deal. The IBRs, the INBs were, $200 each, so they weren't exactly cheap. They were actually more expensive than the SVRs by a little bit. The INB's back here. It's on its reverse side because it cannot start unless these companies get their dots out of there. And the only way that can happen is through a merger between the 2 of them, which isn't very likely, or one of them collapsing, neither of which look like they're unhealthy. Granted, none of them have permanent trains, but they have tons of money on them. So the WF, and for that matter the ECR, have both gotten themselves into kind of a problematic situation. Either one of them is here. They can buy this crappy 5 train, the D. It would actually be the 4 local for the WF. They cannot, neither one can afford both a D and an E. So there's a tempting desire to buy this for a couple $100 or whatever, and try to delay things. There's actually no rule that requires you have a runnable train on your company. You just have to have a train, as far as I can see. On the other hand, this could be a race to the bottom for both companies. It was my fault for getting the WF out in front of the ECR, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I could try to slit my wrists, but I know the player who's playing the ECR thinks like I do, and if I do that, he's going to follow me right down to the bottom. There's one difference, though. He doesn't have a train. He doesn't have an extra train. He could buy this train, and then the YNN would be the one without a train having to buy. But I could buy a freight train and then merge. And that is appealing. Actually, it's called an acquisition if you do it that way. That is actually not an unappealing idea because that allows me to avoid the shit train. So I think we'll do that. Though I still want the capital at the ESR's capital down here in Ipswich, so I'll do that merge later. Now, this is a problem, a big problem, perhaps, if the ESR, which is out here, ends up seeing this train go first. And that's very likely to happen. Ooh. Do I want to just swallow my medicine, which is kind of what I was planning on? I don't know. I'm going to roll a die on this again. Odd we try this tricky train maneuver that I think is crappy. We will not. We're just going to buy the train. Little tricky things. I get to merge. I bought the freight train instead. That means I'm more likely to get a better local train. And I'll probably end up getting a big freight train later too, right? I have to get 2 permanent trains. But what I would like to do is get this $500 4.5 or maybe the $700 5.6 for the local train, because skip locals are really awesome compared to the difference in size for the freight. Now the freight 5 is pretty good. A freight 4 versus a skip 4.5, I would rather have the skip 4.5 than the freight 6. I don't know, maybe. But this is going to give me, after merging, a freight run of 10, but in actuality 8. I don't know what that's going to end up with. I'm actually hoping to run through this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to there. That's really a sweet run. But the WF can't build me much track for that. This was the closest I could come to improving that. And we'll see. Lots of freight. Additional problems because the ECR, which is where I want it to merge to, crushes the YNN's B train. Now they have enough money to buy themselves an auto purchase, right? But they can't do it right now. And at neither point could I actually have merged with there being a train on both companies. So we are going into the next operating round with things being kind of a mess, and we'll see. A lot of people lost a lot of trainage, so those runs are going to decrease, But the big companies up in front, they're set up. If they got $1,000 on them to pick this up. Now the poor WNR, they're the ones who bought a share. They were at the 1,000. The 1,100 looked iffy, I think, and they thought the trains might fall, so they bought a share. How terrible is it? Probably not too bad. I made a mistake anyway. This was an SVR token. When they're upside down, I can't tell. That's one reason why using the proper tokens there makes sense. On the other hand, I don't know, the way I have them up here might be just fine. But I like that home token disambiguation, so I can see what's flipped over. But on the other hand, I can't see which company it is. I'm beginning to see the reasons that these two. Yeah, they're different, but it's not clear which one is which. What I wish is, it's fine that these have the home bases, that these guys were not exactly duplicate on the other side. Like maybe they didn't have the star or something on the other side, had it not printed exactly like this, printed somewhere in between the two, so that you can tell whether or not something's home or not, but whatever. Wouldn't be happening if I had the wooden counters, because, well, then of course color similarity might be an issue still, because telling these two apart, that's not easy for me, and some of the others, same thing. Right then. Am I up for another one right away? Sure. This is kind of ugly, because the ECR had the choice of taking this token, which I do really need to run me through and connect up with the YNN. There are no additional YNN tokens, or taking and getting a build out of it. That didn't matter at all. all, or taking a token in London. I forewent the London token. I'm not sure which is better, but there's not an easy way out of London that's available. Who's already in London? EUR, FDR, SVR. I'm the only company that can get in there right now easily. So I feel like that London token that I have remaining is still safe. I'm hoping. R makes a big 65 run, shooting its value up, buys a permanent train, building track to go out into the Midlands. We're not sure what our eventual trains are going to be like. We have a lot of cash on the company still in those shares. That's like over $1,000 in shares already. I don't have a lot of I have a lot of value in the company. I don't have a lot of cash on the company, so I can't buy yet another share, which I would love to do. But yeah, probably this player's next goal is to infuse the company with that cash and, make sure that it can keep running at big money. UNR, the UR is cursing that share now. Not enough money to get to the 1100, even with the local run and everything. Could have swallowed and done it. Don't need to. I still got $300 in here and a pile of cash. I'll be able to make it, I think, without a swallow, I hope. But I ended up with not exactly the run I wanted. And what am I looking at for my freight run is the real question. My freight run is not pleasant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is kind of what it starts to look like going out that way. I don't think I want to spend my dot yet. It's particular, I don't want to spend it here. My current freight doesn't take me anywhere. I bought a little freight train because I want that 4-5 skip train. And the 4-5 skip train, why? Because I can hit 1, boink 2, 3, boink, boink 4. And that's all I go. I don't use the 4-5. A 4 would be just fine, but 4s don't last. I don't think I need any bigger than that. That's a lot of money hitting there. And we'll see. What sucks, this after the run, paying out 45 run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, 70, 1182. It would take me 1,200 to buy two of these F trains. And that would have been a real coup. Not going to happen. Again, on the other hand, I got a bunch of money. So I'm going to get that other train. It's just, it would have been awesome to get those now. This would be a harder barrier for people to break. Although the YNN is going to break it no matter what. So my D is going to go away if I do that. Not that I can. I'd have to swallow to do it, and I ain't going to swallow. So yeah. I will figure out what my train purchase is, whether a 7 freight train is what I want. If it is not, if I want an 8, that's different. And then, that'll just be the choice of whether I want an express or a freight there. And then that'll get rid of the C trains. And after that, then I figure out what my track lay and dot is, because my run is my run. It's not really impacted by any of this. I'm setting up for the 8 train, so I bought myself a 5 Express. And that, the 8 would get me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh no, that doesn't work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the 7 gets me there. Haha, maybe I want to buy the freight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, here's the problem. I built this track because I already have this fucking dot. I don't want that dot particularly, but I have it. Which would give me what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, if I get the 8, I can run that. That'll get me a little bit extra money. So the Express is good. I'm good. I don't want to make this run particularly. This one's a little better, a little longer, and I'm more likely to control it. I've got one dot remaining. It could go in one of these two spaces if needed. I could end up getting cut off, and then I have to make the run up here maybe, or something else. But I've got a lot of different options. But that killed the C trains. And I noticed something that I hadn't realized. The EUR was running a pair of Cs. Forgot about that. And so it looks a lot worse than it did not long ago as a company. Not, in any kind of bad shape. It's got a permanent train. It's got enough shares that it's going to be able to buy a G train, but it wouldn't be able to buy an H train, I think. I don't think it has quite that much. 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah. So it's just fine. It's just not going to make as much money on its next, on runs until it can sell out those shares. And that gets us over to the WNR, which probably had nowhere near $1,200 and is now feeling a little better about itself. WNR got really hosed by the train losses as well, dropping down to $220 a share. I didn't calculate everything out, which is probably dumb. So 120 or here, 1, 2, 3. No, 140, 240, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 240, 390. Somewhere in that range. Or if I had bought a 5 local, let me just see which is better. My track doesn't really work well with the local. That's the problem. So I'd be looking at something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not so good. 1, 2, 3. Has to go home 4, 5. So that would be at most 80. Let me think about what I'm looking at here. 120, 140, 160, 240, 260, 280. 34 a share plus money going into my bank account. Let me think about that. 34 a share, what's this thing going to make? I counted this out. It was 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 24, 39 a share. So the freight train makes me a little bit more money. I'm probably not going to get another train. If I do, it either involves a swallow, which I'm not sure even that does it. I only have 220 in there, 3, call it 400, maybe, but I doubt it. And maybe the local train could get me within that with a swallow, or a merger, which we're getting pretty late in the game to be doing those, I think. So he's looking like he's in worse shape than I thought he was. I thought he was in pretty good shape. Looking at 2 trains in the long run, I don't think so. And that gets us to the ESR. Now at this point, we're at the point where the Ds are about to die. Because the ESR has to do something, and that may be a stock release. Cutting his 150s down essentially significantly. Now that hurts other people too, which kind of makes this better. But yeah, the train rush caught me. I have the option of taking the merger up front because I only have 665 when I need $700 in cash. No shares to play with. I would rather take the stock hit on the ESR, which is at the high value. And I think, let me think. Geez, this is complicated because what's going to happen is if I take the stock hit, right, I got 50% of this. Its stock value doesn't drop. Its stock value drops if I merge without a train, which may be the better solution. And then I can run and swallow, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'd rather take the stock hit on the ESR shares and make them worth only $75 each, because that puts them you know, so I lose stock value, but I don't know how much that matters. I can always zoom it back up. Yeah, not if I don't get that other train though, and that's the problem. So if I don't merge, I lose shares. And those shares are worth 150 each right now. So I think I'm going to do the merger first. Even after the merger, things are ugly. I'm sitting on a D train and not enough money to buy the next train without a swallow. I'm going to have to swallow, buy that train, and crash my D train. And then, what do I have? I have 50% of my company. And it's not very good overall. I'll have to determine which one is the optimal of the trains to get. But yeah, the train rush hurt. Okay, so the ESR ends up running for 29 a share, which isn't too bad. But it does not pay out. It has to swallow, of course, because I need to buy that train. But that got me enough extra cash I could buy a share. So I don't know. Maybe I can make some money back somehow. I got the big 8. Let me make sure the 5 makes sense. What I was talking about. I think I cheated. I think I cheated because I gotta hit this space. Fuck. I owe some money. So I ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which was 170 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 29. I should not be running that. I have to come out of here. There's no ports I can get to and go anywhere interesting and lay the track upgrade that I'm going to need for the 8 train. Why do I need this for the 8 train? Not because of this track, but because I need the track it replaces to go here to get me into here. Do I absolutely need it? Not necessarily. I can go with anything except that. Well, I can go with anything because I can always do one of the 2 upgrades. But basically from here, what I want to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out to there. That gets me the most possible cash in the long run. So I did want that upgrade. So that means I don't know what my actual run is. I'm going to owe some cash. Too bad I can run from here to here. So that's 13, 19, 1, 2, 3, 28. So I owed $10, which I paid back. And now we go over to the YNN, which is way ahead of us in value, but without a train and in a similar kind of position, except I may have $800 on here. 2, 3, 4. I have 700 and something, but I have shares, so I can sell shares. Of course, they'll be a little cheaper, but yeah, I can sell a share to make up that extra $100, and then I got to figure out what I want with it. I've got my permanent freight train, so I probably want a local, unless I want a monster ass freight that like doesn't even make sense. Very nicely set up for the 6 local run that I'm buying, but the 6 freight, I'm having trouble figuring out what I'm gonna do with it. I could run out of somewhere like here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That doesn't get me to a port, and ports are so important. Got track up there. If I merge with the YNN, which I could do right now, I could get control of that. What is my local freight? My local run works fine with that, so I got to look. Maybe my freight is better there. On the other hand, I'm gonna have some shares, not that much, and a local, which isn't gonna. I don't think I'm gonna get another train chance. So let me see if I've got a freight train that makes sense with 6. Basically, what I'd like to do is run from port to a red area, and I don't know if there's going to be one. The best I can do screws up the ESR's plans by linking up this way. So what I'm looking at is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, that doesn't do it. Shit, I thought it did. Because I gotta hit this. This is my home, and the local runs through there nicely. But 1, 2, 3. See, the problem is the freight wants to get far away from that port. And I thought I could hit down here, but not with a 6 I can't. Well, I'll have to rethink. Say this much. Route Spaghetti is not my favorite game. I don't mind it as an aspect of, like, you know, an 1830 or an 1856, where there's one or two places where you really want to optimize your route and you can set up some kind of spaghetti track that, like, just does amazing stuff. This game, and honestly 21 Moon before it, both are very much about the paths and the routes that you can build up. I still enjoy. I like the route building side of it to a limited extent. This is going too far for me. But, you know, I totally understand people who are very into that kind of game. I just find it kind of frustrating. And I want to get onto stock manipulation, which in neither of these recent games I've been playing has been a very big factor. I also like the train fall, but you know, I always feel like train fall is something that outside of stock manipulation is fairly predictable. So, I don't know, we've got kind of something I'm not that thrilled with, building these spaghetti tracks, and something that I don't really believe you can't sit back and really understand. Now, when I'm soloing a game, I can't really understand, you know, for 6, 8 players, just how the trains are going to fall. But when I'm sitting back playing by myself, I almost certainly know within a, you know, when I'm within an operating round or two, exactly how the trains are going to fall. Unless somebody screws with the stocks. And you can't screw with the stocks in this the same way. At this point, I'm actually very much wishing I had bought a damn local train over here on the ECR. That 4-5 local route isn't much worse than my 6 route. I mean, the 6 is pretty good, but it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I hit something else, you know, or, yeah, there's nothing else good. Okay. It's too late. I could buy more freight. And I don't think a huge freight train. My track's just not set up to bust across the board. There's no guarantees I'm going to be able to do it. And so but I think with the situation that I'm in, I do want the YNN to perform the merger. Oh. No. Shit. Okay, this sucks. So the YNN, if it doesn't perform the merger, then I get stuck down here. And this could be problematic. What does the freight train look like coming out of here? I could get the dot. 1, 2, 3. Four, 5. And then I have to link into something like that. I think that's what I'm going to have to do. The $200 London is the best place I can go. That's going to be my one remaining dot. Yeah. I think the 240 for London. Yeah, but I'm not getting the fucking port bonus then. Oh. But here's the thing. If I do an acquisition on the ECR, I don't get to run the ECR, which I probably do want to do. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Well, what about this shit down here? What went wrong here? I got blocked. Is that terrible? Not necessarily. I think I can get up here. How about I run down this way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why not that? I can't lay the track for it with the YNN yet. But if I do that, then I'll be merging on the ECR, which is what I originally intended to do. And then my 6 local, it has to come through here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then somewhere else. And that's not bad at all. So I think that's my routes. which all fits together rather nicely, actually. The ECR makes a run that, I don't know if that's right, 45. I think that, yeah, that's what I got calculated. 45 run, which isn't bad at all, and is close to what I'm going to be. I'm going to actually be able to increase on that, I think, with that 6 train eventually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to there. Had to build my London station for that. That means I'm out of dots. I haven't yet fixed my dot problem. I still got my Y and N dots on the board. But yeah, the stock value didn't end up too bad. And overall, that's pretty good. I was mistaken about something, I think, when I explained the rules. Which is certainly from the last time I played, I found this, but I think when I explained the rules, I did this wrong. This triggered the beginning of the end, but we still play out the rest of the operating rounds in this sequence, and then we do a stock round where no new companies can start, no new tokens or track can be built, and it's just a quick run. We did that right the last time I played. I just think I missed it when I did the rules introduction way back before. I'm not sure. I know the first time I played it, I seem to remember saying on camera about, wow, it's kind of cool that it just ends at the end of at the end of an operating round, because then you kind of know when the game end is triggered, there will be one set of operating rounds, and you can kind of evaluate the total valuation between players between different games. That's something you usually can't do in 18xx. Well, turns out you can't, because if that company breaks here, then you play out the rest. You know what it may be? It may be if the bank breaks. Maybe that's what I'm confused about here. Nope, that also completes the set of operating rounds. So yeah, I was just thinking, it might provide you with a little extra thing. It's always been something that kind of irked me, was this, well, your total value in an 18xx game, well, in an 1830 game in specific, and the games that are kind of derived from it, is based on, well, when did the bank break? Bankruptcies are totally random, but if the game goes without somebody going bankrupt, which was the common situation for our group, because people didn't believe in, I'll take a 1/5 chance of winning the game by following the eat the money as fast as I can, and only one of us has to pay the price of losing the game. So whoever eats their money the best and doesn't end up losing the game wins. Which I really hate as a style of play. This game doesn't appear to be at all impacted by that, because there's no ending due to bankruptcy. You want to make as much money as you can, but you've got to make it through that end game section. And I like that aspect. I do not like the way 1830 ends up getting played at conventions. But, yeah, I got to do some cleanup. But anyway, the point here is that I'm trying to make with all this babbling is that you don't know how many operating rounds there are after the end of the game. So the total valuation for different people could be very different. You also don't know how long the game as a whole could go. That could be based on player choices, though. It doesn't feel like the same kind of player choices as to when the train rush causes things to crash, even though there's no luck or anything like that. It just feels like a different kind of thing than deciding to play an exceedingly conservative game where you don't push out the trains at all, and that lengthens the game and whatever effect that might have. All right, let me clean up and get ready for the next operating round. Little bonuses to talk about all this. The ECR, first of all, managed to get all 7 tokens on the board, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by this merger. So that was pretty cool. The other thing is, I get the bonus. I get to use the pretty blue and purplish blue instead of the black, and especially since I haven't gotten to play the ECR at all in the other two games, it's really nice to see them come out. I've gotten to see all the companies come out, and I think every single one's been started in at least one game. Everything got started in this game, I think, didn't it? The LNH did not. The NNB, no, I guess not. But yeah, again, you know, the variance in what the companies available in the game were, and the order they come out, and everything. That's so important to changing the way the game actually plays out. All right, let us. Wow, there's an LND here. Wonder what that's from. I mean, it was in the game, but yeah, that shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be an ENH anymore. That's gone. So everybody's clustered down there. Everybody's made a merger. Nobody tried to do it straight up. Straight up sucks. I mean, you really want the freight and something else conjunction. The freight local is really awesome. Early in the game, it becomes less of a big deal later, although it's kind of cool the fact that the local can't hit the things that the freight most wants to go to, so you don't end up competing with each other at all. Like, the freight ends up at the end of the game running between two places, and the local can run on the same track as long as there's lots of doinks in there to give you extra money. And the local can make a lot of money if you hit enough doinks. We don't have anything crazy going on here. One of the games, not the last game I don't think, but one of the two games I played before this, we had a little loop here where all these doinks were being hit, and then there was like more elsewhere, and it was just really, really sweet. But everybody who had a local was riding that gravy train. All right, the rest for tomorrow. Okay, and this means we're nearly at the end of the game. This is the last round. If really anything can be done. Then we have a stock round, and there's some possibility of trains being bought. Basically, if somebody sells out enough shares of something that's valuable enough. But I don't think we have that length of game available here. One thing I've noticed again and again, this is the first time I've played by the rules. So, the first time I played, the second time I played, both of them, that's a big bank. I mean, not this. All this is in there too. Another whole set of these without the missing, without all those missing 500s. This is a huge bank. I don't know if it's like at all reasonable that the game would ever break due to the bank breaking. That the game would ever end due to the bank breaking. Anyway, onward. I'll probably get part of this done, and then I have to shuffle off to work. Enough, and maybe because there were 8 starting companies, but the trains were more restricted. I was playing by those incorrect original rules that I was fiddling with. Oh, that's where I got the impression that it was the designer. It was my original rules. Probably had the original version of the game and now has the updated rules. Might lead to that confusion or something like that. The current ones don't. This was just my mistake that ended up with that. But anyway, the first time I played with the 8 players, but with the restricted trains, actually dipped into that second box. I had to pull a few 500s out of there. I mean, probably not absolutely, but just as a matter of convenience. Anyway, I ran the SVR, screwed up and diddled some money out of the ESR accidentally, which I hope I recovered correctly. The run was only a 36 run, but I'm setting up my track for a London to whatever. I probably already have this. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I already have track going up that way, but I'm setting up additional track going up this way. There was really nothing I could do to help this track. I've got boinkers everywhere where I could hit them. I don't see anything that I can do to help that express train. Well, screw my ass. Alright, I'm wrong about the run too. God, it's too early in the morning. I'll be back. As express trains can hit ports and off-map red areas, I want to hit London. It's the biggest money. So I actually got my run up to 42 a share, and I reallocated the cash for that. I don't think I had something better. I might have, because I could hit this, which is bigger than any other location that I'm hitting. So that would be, let me just make sure, but I'm not going to come back whatever the result is. Because basically the problem would be I'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which doesn't look that bad actually. Might be another buck or two. Oh, it's actually a lot more. It's 5 more bucks. 13, 19, 27, 47. Skip the 40. Yeah. Which just kind of shows you, if you're in the right areas, the express train is better than the local. And if you're in the wrong areas, if you can't hit any off-map areas, yeah, you're not in that good a shape, comparatively. Which is kind of interesting, because the local is a lot of work and everything, but it does produce that extra cash flow into here, which I took away. All right, that's enough babbling. 47, that did not get me above. I had only gone forward 1, and I had barely made the limit, so that was kind of nice. Final run makes things a little weird. I've done a couple of things, let's see, since the SVR. The EUR is running at 36, and then the other one was the FDR at 45. Neither particularly doing much except setting up their runs for the next train they're buying. For the WNR, here's what's interesting. I don't have enough money for a train. If I swallowed, I would. But because my run is 390, at least I think I would. 495, 60. Actually, I probably wouldn't. So yeah. So I'm going to pay out no matter what. But you might be tempted to swallow here at this step. But here's the problem. You had better be investing all this cash. Well, you had better be filling your stock portfolio at this point. And I should actually have calculated who's got the biggest portfolio, but it doesn't really make much difference. And nobody's going to be dropping shares until the stock round. And even then, they're not going to be dropping them. There are a limited number of shares available to be purchased, including the ones in the corporations. So we'll probably see everything getting subscribed. But yeah, you don't want to be left without enough cash going into that final round. So even if you could make more money off your WNR shares by swallowing once here, you have to count on the fact that every penny that you make at this point gets 3 more operating rounds of money. Whereas if you swallow that money, you don't get that additional money. All you get is the shares that you have. So I'm actually probably better off not making the WNR better. I could sell WNR shares because it's of very little importance at this point in the game in order to buy shares of companies that are going to do better. A lot of the factors in this game make it more of an investor's game than giving a real advantage to the person running the company. The advantage of the person running the company is, well, because they're running the company, they hold the majority of shares in it, or at least a plurality of the shares in it. And, you know, they have that extra certificate there. And that's true in all the XX games, really, but there's no real threat to being an investor. And a couple more pieces of the puzzle. The ECR got I think the best run in the game so far. We may see better. 88 a share. I'm used to it. kicking down over 100, which jumped him way forward. Definitely wanted to pay that out. He got his big 500. You can see, since the bank's not going to break anymore, I can throw all that money back in. And again, there's another whole tray of everything in it. And a little bit of track placement. Oh shit! This is the last track placement. Yeah. Crap. What dot do I need? The ESR needs this dot, and that's going to cut some people's roots. The ESR turned out with a really piss poor run at 34 a share. And that probably is not going to improve. It doesn't look like he's going to get a train. It doesn't look like he really has much opportunity. I have a chance to upgrade this track, but basically I've gotten dotted out of any type of port, to red area type connection. I'm just frozen out along here. This play is what killed me. I don't remember who screwed me over with that. That was relatively recent, but people just, like, nah, you're not getting in. Actually, that might be an older one. Somebody else did one like that. That might be the new one. That might be the old one. I'm not sure. But anyway, just those dicky little moves can kind of cost you, I don't know. He was probably close to last place. So we had him and him in really iffy situations, but he's gotten a beast of a company out of it. He's gotten kind of shit. And in terms of cost of trains, $1,000 in trains there, no, $1,300 in trains there, $700 in trains here. Yeah, no. He had a better company overall with the merger and everything. I mean, it wasn't like it was you just didn't predict the trains right, which is what I was afraid it was. And that means we're going to jump down into the final stock round. And people get to fill out their portfolios, and that's about it. Then the rest of it goes to the spreadsheet, just like last time we played. Started the new stock round. The new certificate limit went from 10 to 12. He bought a share, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, plus 2 more. He's got the biggest quantity total out of anyone. So everybody's at 12 shares. That may impact things, although where the prices are, I don't know if very many people are going to fill out their portfolio. Very obviously he is. He's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got enough cash set aside, $600 for these two. That puts him to 11, one more share, and he's got $575 in his bank. So chances are that ESR is going to go away. WNR is going to go away, and he's going to be buying more expensive shares. But right now, he is picking up, what he can. That's cheap. He may not even get both his shares that he's reserved money for. The issues to look at, he probably should have dumped his ESR because people are maybe going to dump shares of it. A share of ESR, or 2 shares of ESR, is not necessarily worth as much as one of these other big shares. So that's 284. That puts you in the same range as these guys. These are a little higher, obviously. 350. Yeah, this would not be as high. So we're not talking 3 shares in general, although this is getting awfully close to 3 shares purchase price now. But also, share values go up higher. You see the differentiation is bigger as you go up the track. And these values are more. So the ECR is making 880. That's not going to change. And neither is the ESR is 340. So 2 shares of ECR, which costs less than 2 shares of ESR, it will make you more money. Selling an ECR at this point is, you may need that ECR. An ESR at this point is, you may need that ESR. There aren't that many shares available at all. So if you sell that, That's $142 that may end up just in your bank, not making you any money. And this guy is probably the only person who can pretty much guarantee he is not going to be holding his ESR. Everyone else, I think, probably will. Unless it turns out that they need the money for it to make a better share. On top of having the only company, the worst company on the board, by far, the ESR, he only has $285 in his pocket. Which, yeah, he could buy 2 more ESRs, yippee-ki-yay. That doesn't do him any good. There's no stock, there's no reason to try to sell something out or anything like that in this game. He could buy 2 of them. He could buy an ECR. He cannot afford the next highest price thing. There are no ECRs left to buy, and they're not going to drop. Okay. That leaves him enough money for a WNR. Well, there are WNRs available, but WNR is almost as bad. So now we start doing stock price comparison. So I would gain $100 in 3 runs per share versus $50 for 3 runs per share. ESR is going to make more per share for 2 shares. So I am going to actually buy 2 shares of ESR. But there aren't 2 shares of ESR. And this sucks. If I buy the WNR, then so what I'm going to do is pass. But if I buy the WNR, I cannot sell it. Part of the rules of this game. And I'm stuck with it. If I buy the ESR... Oh wow, you know what doesn't look... Why did he not buy a share? Oh shit. He may be in trouble. He needs to get... He has 3 shares of that shit at 400 each. There may be an ESR available. Hold on. This guy has to buy SVRs to get money into his company. And he's a little low on cash. Problem solved. And indeed, the SVR with $400 a share... I have $800 here. I have another $800 here. Now, he can only buy 1 more share with the cash he has on hand unless he sells an ESR. In which case, I still think he can only buy 1 more share because this is not a lot and that's not a lot. But we can see. But that will have 3 trains and be the most preeminent of all the companies out there by far. In terms of runs, I think. Hard to tell, But I've got London. Can only hit that once. I've got an Express 4.5, which could, who knows? And then I'd be able to buy maybe 2 freight trains. No. 2 freight trains doesn't make sense because that would be an 18 run, and that just doesn't work. But I could get a 9 run across the continent. It'd be 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6, 7. Just not quite making it. There might be a way this way. 1, 2. Actually, 1, 2. This is cheaper. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Okay, so we can make a 9 run across the region, one way or another. There may be improved routes. We have no dots, so we can't defend any of those routes, but that's okay. Nobody else can play dots either, so all good there. Which means we would be running not just the Express we had here, which I think was making that 47 run. Of course, we can't add those together because that was doing a London to here run, which might mean that we'll be doing like a run from here to somewhere with the freight train. But then I've got another local train, and that's going to be a big 6 run, which, is going to make like 25 or so more. So I am guessing if we're getting around 47, let's see. We're going to break that $100 a share. I'm not willing to commit to more than that, but I think it's going to be one hell of a run. So the problem is, in order to do that and make all these shares really valuable, someone has to buy a share for him. And who's willing to do that? Well, I don't know. This guy's not doing too well. But on the other hand, he may have better investments. So then the question comes to, does somebody like this, who definitely has the cash for one of those $400 shares, and it's very attractive to him, does he want to boost the SVR owner up into the Premier League? Is that a danger? Is the money from that share going to put him more over someone else? And of course, if he buys one, somebody else might buy one too. But does the bonus from having that share, when he's clearly got enough money for many shares, does that money put him over the current second place player, or whoever his competitor is who might be ahead of him? I doubt it. More than the risk of making this guy go up. But anyway. Yeah, that was an interesting. I'm glad I noticed that early, because that would have been a huge error. That's a player who's possibly in the running with that thing. WNR, on the other hand, not so impressive. Remember the discussion about the SVR? Well, it's easier for you than for me, because it's been a few moments. He bought one of the shares. There's still a share out here, which is sort of the bonus for anyone else who wants to buy. But this guy is finding himself left with no real good choices other than maybe the SVR. He could buy WNRs at 245. He's planning on swallowing with that though, so once to get himself a good train, because I think one swallow out of 3 rounds ends up paying off just because you bounce the stock value back. But he just didn't want to do it on the last round when he needed cash for investing. But other than that, there's crappy ESRs that I don't want to buy. By the way, he sold an ESR. I should have. I'll just remember. I should have a token on him. But that extra SVR is probably a good thing. Now, here's the problem. If I buy this share, I might be putting him above me. But I know it's going to run 2 trains, so buying this share doesn't hurt me. But yeah, I'm planning on swallowing once with the WNR, so it's not as valuable a line as the other top-ranking lines. It's certainly more worthwhile than the ESR. But I think the SVR will make more money, especially given where it is in the location, etc. Do I want to buy 2 shares of it? No, because I might be putting that guy ahead of me by doing so, and I'd rather not do that. But I think this guy's going to end up doing it anyway. Something I forgot to mention. So, a lot of times in a real game of this, people would just have thrown the money into their own company that they wanted to, get that out of the way first. The problem with that is they had to reserve the money because, well, they didn't have to reserve the money, but they might have lost opportunities if players were trying to prevent them from getting their run in there. It wasn't really the case. I think it would have been cleaner in terms of stock value, the spreadsheets at the end, determining how much the run's made, how much the stock value is, all that. I think that would have been a lot cleaner if, there were people sitting on 100% of their companies, because that's not an issue in this game. Although, again, there's sort of this, the standard for 18xx is you can only hold 60% of a company. So yeah, there might just be a pattern of, oh yeah, I'm not going to buy my own, obviously I have that, what else do I want to get, type of thinking as well. But this game allows you to kind of consolidate your holdings and make the calculations a little easier at the end, I guess. I don't know why I babble about the shit that I do, right? So he just bought, that puts me over here. It's going to turn out that ESR that I was holding that I decided to sell before somebody else made a choice to sell it, that's what's going to screw me. And not a lot, But I did sell that ESR, dropping its value. And now I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shares. I can buy 2 more certificates. but there are only 1, 2, 3 non-ESR certificates. I did not need to sell that for cash for any reason. I just was looking at, oh, let's make a few bucks back and clear up my stock holdings. And now I got like 600 bucks that I'm not going to be able to use because those WNRs are going to go. In fact, the ESRs may go too before I get a chance. I doubt it because this guy doesn't have the money to buy a share, and this guy doesn't look like he does either. But just as kind of a, wow, that was a dumb move. It's not going to cost him that much, but yeah. I think it still mattered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I did not have to drop the share. This is all I'm going to get. I got a WNR instead. I'm still back in ESR. And what that kind of costs me is what I went into, which was a nice big full stock portfolio. Also more cash, but what is left right now is 2 ESRs, and I think there may not be money for anyone to buy them. This guy, one of the reasons it wasn't as bad as it looked originally, this guy was in a position where selling his ESR made sense to pick up another WNR. He thinks that's going to make more money than this, which is just going to sit there doing very little. I'm not going to cut this video and do one just for the final bit, although it might be about a half hour with all the calculations and everything. But as is often the case, the first run in this new era, in this new operating round, is going to be different. And then the second and third are going to be kind of locked into place. Remember, no stock, no track lays, no token placement. You are allowed to buy trains, but not between companies, and the other thing that's important, I don't know what. So the only thing that's going to affect the prices is the fact that people are going to be buying new trains. But yeah, that's kind of not, you know, I don't know. That's not going to impact everyone, is basically what I'm saying. But this guy's going to buy 2 new trains in the final round. That's fucking awesome. I have not seen that in a couple of times I played. Fortunately, at $400 a share, 47 a share does not get him any stock increase. Ouch. But that's okay. I'm going to be going forward a fair amount, I would assume. And let's see. Well, we buy our trains. Had a close call thing, and this may have been it, but I don't remember. $793 for a third train on the FDR. You know, too bad I don't have a local. But yeah, I just don't think a Swallow is worth it. But maybe. You know, I mean, it's just so hard to tell. My Swallow would be a 52 run and a space. Does the space matter? I don't know. The 52 run, am I going to make that back? That's the big question, because I'm probably going to make the space up with the extra train. Am I going to make up a 52 run on an extra express train? I don't know. Let me see if I am. But I hate, you know, swallowing 520 bucks because I am 7 short. That doesn't feel particularly good. And I'm not sure I would be thinking about this if I wasn't like within 100 or 2. I barely am. So one of the problems is one of my trains is running the little express through here. One of my trains is going to be running the big freight, I think, through to here. Okay. There's not a lot that I can do over here. The way the track has been kind of not filled out completely, and the way the dots are, means I can't really break through over in here at all. Okay. So I'm blocked off there, but what I can do is I can hit this, which no one is hitting, I think. I'm not sure, because the 6, I think, actually does hit that. Uh-oh. But could the 6 hit this? not in a good way. That's the problem. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah, because I was counting this. I'm definitely hitting the good stuff there. I've got to hit something that one of my train routes goes through. So this is, you know, the most appealing thing, right? But maybe I can get the 9 run going up this way instead from London and reconfigure the 6. So with this, I was getting a 27 run, running up here and to another port. Not using this port, just the city to this port. But overall, I mean, this is just kind of headache land at this point, and I just need $7. One promising thing is that I've got the 9 run that can come from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 up to there. And that looks pretty damn good. And now let me see if I can find a replacement 6 run, or 5 run, or 6 run. That could go 1, 2, 3. Oh, crap. See, if I can't hit another city, it's not so good. Like the port to city. I really want the port to city connection to happen. 1, 2, 3. 5, 6. Why not? What's wrong here? 1, 2, 3. This is the FDR. 4, 5, 6. That's not bad. And I should be able to find a good 5 run using this piece of track, which my freight train has to go through, which would be, I don't know what. Well, that becomes a lot harder because the freight train goes through up here where the money is not so good. So here we'd be looking at 8. And come down here, 9, 10, 11. 14, can't end there at 8 particularly. I could. I mean, that looks like the best. That looks like it's going to be about a 19. So I'm gonna not buy it. It's going to create more headaches. It'll be easier to run 2 trains than 3. And surprising happiness, the money that was in the shares of the ECR apparently got them enough cash to buy a 3rd train as well. That was the first thing I noticed happy. And then I also found another $1 on my run that I could have made last time as well. So we're making an 89 run instead. And that's 3 spaces ahead. Ouch. But also, it's just going to keep cranking. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that I can find another good local run. This is the real iffy thing here. I could put one hell of a freight train on this and have a 15 freight train. What the hell do you do with a 15 freight train? The 6 is too little. The 15 is probably way too big. I mean, what does it really gain me? So if I come from here and go out here, that doesn't really help. This might actually be more worthwhile, but they look about the same. So, I mean, I can definitely make any freight run I want. The best freight run, and the locals aren't going to be able to run through here, the best freight run I can possibly make is... That's 7 hexes. In this direction, we're looking, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hexes again. So that's going to be 210 plus 300, about a 51 freight run. Right now, I'm not making far from that. I'm making 33, 45. So $60 doesn't seem likely. So what I'm going to do is, I guess I'll buy another local and see what I can eke out of another local. I can certainly make better than 60 with it, I say. I'm not absolutely positive of that. Where would it be running? I'm already hitting this, but I could come from here. 1, 2, 3. Don't want to go back that way. I hit those. 4, 5. But that's better than 60 if I don't count this, which, you know, I'm already counting again. The other one is running down here. It's also a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's pretty rich. But yeah, if I come out of here, I get these extra doinks, and there's my 60 right there. So clearly I want to get the local train. Recycle your phase A trains. I think this is the last of the trains. I'm just going to put that sucker down there and try to remember that it's a local. It's stacked with the local. And yeah, I did that without swallowing, so that's pretty damn sweet. And now to the inglorious ESR, which there's a reason nobody wants their shares. Really crappy with the ESR, I'm realizing, is I didn't get my track laid. I didn't get it all hooked up. That's what I needed. This is my capital for the ESR. What was I connected to? I don't fucking know. Something up here, probably the WF it looks like. Right. I don't know. The ENR started at some point or another, I think, and oh, no. I guess maybe it didn't. Yeah, I guess I didn't start all the companies. So, yeah, so the ESR, I think started with the WF because no one else would have laid that token, right? And was trying to break through this way. But I don't have a good route through, so I'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 7, 8, 9, and that doesn't even hit a port. But to hit a port with this thing, well, to hit the port that I was set up for, comes out this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boinked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boinked. And then there's this way going up. Can I make this my end point? And can I do it with a port that makes sense? And that's what we're going to come to. I'm going to look at a number of different routes and see if anything can beat this 34. I got 34. I come up with either 32 or 35, or 33 or 35, I think, or 32 or 35, something like that. Either running up here, where it's 18 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 18 and 15 is 33. And then this way is 20, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 15 is 35. So I don't know, but we'll be paying out 35 a share. And, it's not enough. Tough titties. The problem with this game is finding the optimal routes is sometimes a pain in the ass, and I just don't have the stomach for that. Much as I don't have the stomach for the spaghetti track to begin with. You know, parts of it are intriguing to me, but this may be why there's a rule that you don't have to take the greatest route. It's just to keep people from trying to optimize as much or something. I don't know. But I really don't think it's the case, because you still spend the same AP time to try to inch out an extra. Best I could find with the SVR was not, I did not spend a whole hell of a lot of time, but I found a 123 a share route. And damned if I can tell you what it is. And it may be wrong for all I know. But I ran from from down in London up to here. And this is where the optimization gets weird. Maybe I could have gotten an almost as good freight route across the board elsewhere. Like here, which I think I had been setting up. And then maybe gotten better local routes off that, or sorry, not local, express routes, because the express can use London. I don't know, and honestly, there are probably dozens of good routes because the SVR has a lot of tokens and can hit a lot of stuff right now. I got to be careful though, it doesn't have this token, which would be really helpful. But anyway, we're probably talking about a difference of no more than $30 or so, because I'm hitting London, a port, this another port without, you know, the freight bonus there, and then most of what's down here, although I think I'm missing this one entirely, and I better not be missing that. Yeah, I think I'm missing that one too. You know, I mean, conceivably it could be like $10 more a share. I just don't have the stomach to go after it. Trying to optimize which in the spaghetti mass is the best. It's just not my thing. Thing to note though, 123 was not enough to get me 4 spaces, only 3. And next time it's only going to be 2. So we're going to end up at like $800 a share. We're not going to get that 1,000. That's hard to reach too, like the bank breaking. This one though, I've seen the daylight on, you know, I mean, like I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just never quite reach it. Breaking the bank, man, I think that's just there as a, my God, if somehow you manage to get into some pathological situation, the game will actually end. I don't know what my 8 ESR run was. I couldn't reproduce it. I did something like from there to there, which looks likely to be the best run I can get. I don't remember what I did. Because I got 35 somehow, and I am coming up with about 30 with that. That would be 18, and well, maybe I could have hit here. 1, 2, 3, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's probably the run that I did. So that would be, well, that's only 180 instead of, that's also 180. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's 30. This one came out to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That again comes out to 30 a share. I don't know where the fuck I got that 35. Obviously no dots have been laid, no track has been upgraded. I may have been cheating. I'm gonna let it stand and say I must have found a valid 35 route because they're so far behind. Who really cares? Well, it could impact this guy who could only buy ESR shares at the end, but if he ends up, I don't know, you know, winning by a couple $100 or something, we've got it in question. But yeah, there's only so much of this spaghetti track I can cope with. So those same runs that I calculated last time applied again. I'm pretty sure of all of them except the ESRs. Not that they're the best, but that they're legal at least. I don't know about that one. And now all that's left is to do the spreadsheeting. And if you can read my writing, if I could read my writing when I calculated it, because one thing I noticed was I screwed up for the WNR. I was giving it the valuation that the SVR was making off its run, and that's bullshit, but it was down here, just because, again, the color. And I was like, well, that's interesting. They both had the same amount. What's up with that? No, there's no way. And then I noticed the WNR was down in the 70s. It didn't make a run here. I think I moved the marker, and I'm just assuming for the best there that I got those numbers right. Cash on hand, the only thing that mattered on cash on hand was the EUR not buying that additional share. They only had room for 1 additional share, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, they could have only bought 1 additional share of ESR. So what would they have gained? Well, they would have gained the run of the ESR, which is $210, plus whatever it gained here, which is, you know, let's call it $300. So there's a $300 slush fund there. There's a potential slush fund for him, which also impacts him, which is again under $100, $200. These are the 2 people I'm most worried about He came into things probably in the strongest position, followed by the FDR, but the SVR got that monster run, and we're going to see what that means. Well, in terms of runs, we see that the EUR actually got the bigger run and the bigger stock value in addition to that cash. So not surprisingly, they're ahead, but boy, it ended up a lot closer. Even the FDR is a few $1,000s behind. Well, 3,000 behind the EUR, but significantly behind the SVR, which just shows you one thing. This game is about getting the biggest, bestest run, but not at all costs, okay? In the XX games that I generally like more, there are opportunities to win the game through multiple different strategies. This is not a bad run. You need a big run at the end of the game to get yourself up in the stock value. Look at the differences up there. They're huge, right? You want to be making those multiple jumps at the end of the game. Make sure that you get, pretty damn far up the thing. And the differences in the amount that you can pull from a run are fairly significant. $40 a share difference. What the hell? But yeah, 3 trains at the end of the game. And this is legal. You're allowed any 3 trains at the end of the game in the end period. So yeah, I did not cheat. I was afraid I had. One thing that I had mentioned was one of the guys, I was like, oh, you don't want another freight train. Actually here, he could have run 2 separate freight trains, which might have been a better situation. I don't think anybody else was in that situation where they could have bought 2 maximal freight trains. So his run might have actually been better had he not bought that 6 train. I don't know. Again, that is track calculation, optimization, and everything. In the end, because you want that huge run, so much of the game is about building that up. Your mergers, your attempts to manage the trains falling, everything like that. It's all this desire to get that huge run. How do I feel about that? I find that kind of refreshing and interesting. I'm not disappointed with the idea that it's a game that's primarily focused on getting the big runs. The hard part of it for me is this tightly compacted track layout that is a pain to figure out where your best runs are. Now, the fact that it's a pain to figure out your best runs, where your best runs could be, means that there's opportunities, that aren't there in your normal games. In your normal games, where one city is incredibly important, dominating that city becomes your goal for the game. And even if you don't end up with all the trains to, manage that city, at least you've cut a bunch of people out of it with your guys. So I like certain aspects of this from a design position. I don't like what the implications are on having to actually play it in terms of the route calculation, the refiguring, the optimizations that are going on again and again and again. I find them painful, especially as you get late in the game. The nice thing about it is you get a series of 3 runs where, or 2, depending, where basically nothing changes. And I see a number of the more modern games are moving towards that, where, no more track lights, no more tokens, maybe no more train purchases can even happen in some of them. Wow, yeah, and then the biggie here, this guy, he came in probably 3rd? 79, yeah, he came in 3rd, and a fairly distant 3rd, but he'd be right up in the running if it wasn't for that $7 shortfall. 7 extra bucks. I make bigger errors than that, I'm sure. So, he was a lot closer than it looks. It looks like he's in that second tier. I'd say he's right up with the EUR. If he has $7 more in his treasury at that point. And that's the kind of thing that I don't think there's shit you can do about. You know, somebody sells one of your shares, that could happen. Somebody, you know, puts a token down at one point and cuts you a few bucks off your run when you've got a share or two in here. Just all kind of shit like that could affect something like that. So I can't be too unhappy with how the FDR did. The ESR got hosed. He wasn't the only person in a bad position, though. Really, everyone except the EUR and FDR, I feel like, had a bad situation at some point or another that they were facing. His was unrecoverable, and I don't really remember what it was. You know, it had to do with the trains being eliminated, getting a swallow when you didn't. The train rush came a little faster than people were kind of expecting. Than some of the people. I don't know. I really don't know. I felt like the EUR was running away from the game with most of the game, with the FDR in close pursuit, and then out of nowhere, someone who got hurt managed through a monster run with 3 trains to really catch their way back up. The other 3 trainer, though, the ECR, now he may have been, he was also hurt, and he kind of, both of them, but he especially kind of slipped into the, wow, I got enough money for another train. Where'd that come from? Here I knew I had the 3rd train coming. And yeah, I don't know. Was the swallow with the WNR at the end worth it? I think so, but again, I don't want to do all the analysis. I play these games by gut more than anything else. All right, well, this went longer than it should have as a video, but you know, whatever. Let's send it up, and then I'll come back with a review, although you've probably heard most of the things that I actually have to say if you've been watching the videos. If you watch the review, you might get most, well, you've heard everything that I possibly have to say if you've been watching the whole playthrough. But you heard most of it right at the end here. I might catch most of this again in the review video, but you know, watching those is generally not a great idea as your only way to like understand the game.